welcome to Arcade Couch, the best place to chill with friends, get your gaming goodness every Monday. My name's Don Black. Joining me on the couch this week, Ashley Hobley.
Hey John, excited to be here and excited to talk about all these crazy games that got announced this week. What a week.
Yep. That's an April Fool's, everyone. We're not talking about any games that were announced this week. Sorry to spoil it for you all. Also, here, Ciaran Marchant.
If I go quiet during talking at all today, it's because I've started having an inner monologue with my t-shirt. Because sometimes those kinds of things just happen.
What's that reference?
Disco
I'm
Elysium.
assuming it's Disco Elysium.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense because today in the show we're basically just talking about games we've been playing. Including It Takes Two, Magic the Gathering Arena, fucking Disco Elysium. I've started Shadow of the Tomb Raider the other week, so I should talk about that. There's only a couple of news stories, so it's mostly video game talks, which, you know, it's a video game podcast. Good job, everyone. So let's get into it. The headlining game that released last week, of course, was It Takes Two. It is the follow-up from Hazelight Studios, who previously did, of course, A Way Out. And the majority of that team also did Brothers, although that was, I can't remember that studio's name, but that was a different studio. Anyway. This is their proper second game. It takes basically the same ideas as A Way Out, which is it's a co-op game. No, you don't have any choice about it. It's co-op. You either play it with someone locally or online. You have to be on a chat together. You have to be able to communicate. You can't just get in a lobby and find someone random. Like, this game is about playing it with someone you're talking to and communicating. And that's kind of the theme that runs through from A Way Out. However, other than that, this game is completely different. A Way Out was obviously a game about two people breaking out of a prison, and then a lot of stuff happens after that. And it was, you know, more adult. It Takes Two is kind of adult, but I would say it was, A Way Out was
It Takes Two is almost very Pixar.
It's like an adult Pixar, I guess is what you call it. So yeah, that A Way Out was like a crime game. It Takes Two is a platforming. Yeah, adult Pixar, I guess, where the setup for the game is that these two parents, Cody and Mia, I think that's it. May, there you go. May. Cody and May have decided within the first 30 seconds of the game that they're going to get divorced. They tell their daughter.
Well, I feel like that was done. They decided before the game starts.
I don't know. She pulls up and they're like, "Hey, we're getting a divorce," and then they're like, "Okay, we're going to tell the child tonight," or whatever it is. The child's name, who I can't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, she gets upset. Rose, that's it. She goes and cries on these two dolls, which are she's made of her parents, and then the parents get transported into the two dolls somehow, their souls or whatever you want to call it. It's not really important, to be honest. And then one player plays as Cody, one player plays as May. And it is a platforming puzzle game where it has 7 chapters. Each chapter is highly different to the last. Each chapter introduces brand new mechanics and a different skill set that each of the two characters get. And then you have to utilize those to solve different puzzles, or at times there's combat. Some chapters have a lot of combat. Some chapters have a lot of puzzles. Me and Ash played through the entirety of the thing on twitch.tv/Explosion Network. And you can watch all of that by heading to youtube.com/explosionweek now, because I cut out the majority of it and uploaded it into 3 parts. So you can find that if you'd like to watch us play it. There's some laughs to be had, that is for sure. It's an interesting game. And Ciaran has played through the first 2 chapters so far, and he's been playing that with Radio Watson's Buddy Watson. We'll have a review up by the time this goes live. I'm sitting around an 8 to an 8.5. This is all riding off the gameplay. Like, from a gameplay perspective, this game is absolutely both nonsensical. It's nonsense. A lot of it actually doesn't make any sense, like how certain things in the world are happening and like you're interacting with them. But it is really just like the developers, the whole group of them, however many there is, were like, we've got a lot of cool ideas, and they were like, well, we're not going to leave any off the board here. Like, we're going to put them all in this fucking game, no matter how ridiculous they are. And that is the best part of the game. Like, playing this with a friend, like having me and Ash, I feel like I can speak for both of us. I feel like we had a good time playing this game together. I had a lot of fun, because it's everything from just silly co-op nonsense where you're trying to do combat together or take down bosses, and that stuff's like you've kind of seen it before and you've seen it done. And then there's the stuff that requires a little bit more communication. And in my review of like like a non-spoilery example I could think of is early in the game when you have the nail. Cody has the nail and May has the hammer, and you've got to do like a platforming sequence where you have to be like pulling out the nails like while the other person's jumping and all that sort of stuff. So like it's cool that you can have a game do that where it's designed around the fact that two people will have to be playing it and two people will have to be talking. Like it's not designed around, we can't make it too hard because there may be an AI partner or they may be playing it in co-op where the other person can't hear you. So that leads the level design to be harder in the co-op elements, but that's also the good thing. My big negative, and as I said, I'm probably going to give it an 8 to an 8.5 because the gameplay is so good and it's so much fun to play, is my big negative is I just think the story is shit. I did not like any of the characters, to be honest. But the more I thought about it, by the time I finished the game, I was like, I don't like Cody. I don't like May. I don't like the daughter. Like, I can barely remember the characters' names. I just don't. The setup for the story was nonsense. The ending, of course, no spoilers. I was like, kind of whatever. I felt absolutely nothing for any of the characters in this game at all, and that's my big negative. Obviously, it's not big enough to ruin the game because like the gameplay's there and you meet some cool side characters and whatever. But the core cast of the family, I'm just like, I do not give a fuck about any of this. To be completely honest, I do not care.
I think it's because of the from the little very like kind of 4 or 5 hours that Buddy and me played today for it. I think I was talking to Buddy about it. It almost feels like there's like so many different games or movies just kind of smushed together, and like in terms of like kind of different sections, almost reminding me of different movie types throughout the whole thing. That there's almost like it's very hard to kind of build those.
Joseph Fares loves his references in this game. Don't you worry. Yeah. Don't you worry.
Be sure to watch our playthrough to get every single reference possible. I think.
Like if like the easy one is that you're not throwing nails. You're just fucking Kratos' axe.
No. So we started straight away. I was like, holy fuck, you're Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy. And then Ash was like, and you're Thor because I got the hammer. So then it became a joke that we started thinking every character was like a Marvel character. But then that became a joke that everything was a reference to something, to the point that we was kind of just overstretching, making everything a reference to something. I don't think you can watch a Let's Play of this game where people, by the time me and Ash finished playing it, I'm pretty sure we would have said everything's a reference to something like somewhere between 50 to 100 times. I swear to God.
Like it's very interesting, and I guess that might be part of the issue of why it's hard to connect with the characters, considering it's almost like at the end of each section they then have to remind you that the two main characters are going through a divorce or kind of like arguing. Like they have to one has to like randomly shit can the other character or say something negative towards the other person. You're like, oh yeah, they're fighting and there's this whole divorce thing. And
it also requires buying into the, I don't call it like a Christian thing, but it's almost like the only way the girl could be happy is if her parents stay together. Like it's a very
yes.
And you know what I mean by Christian? It's a very Christian belief of, down that road.
Oh, no, it's just I think it's just very
old school family values type thing. I
wouldn't even call it Christian. I almost say it's American. It's like the American family values, or just traditional family values in many ways, where it's a happy home with kind of a stable mother and father relationship.
Yeah. And I'm not saying you can't do a story about two people fighting and realizing they should stay together, but like the game leans very heavily on like that is the only fucking answer. Like there's no moment in the game where they really discuss what's best for the daughter at all.
Oh, it's that's disappointing. That's disappointing. I was waiting for the moment at the end of the game where the two parents have to kill each other for the right to get their soul back into their actual body. But it's almost like the thing is there's so many times where they actually, like, the two main characters actually talk down about things that their daughter, like they're like, when they're talking about where the daughter got this book from, and they're like, no, she couldn't have done that, no way. Like, it's just very kind of, oh, okay, you kind of both shit people. So like, it's just a thing. And I think this game does rely on the fact that it is a co-op game and you're hanging out with somebody and you're playing, having these fun moments of gameplay. It did take me a while to get used to the gameplay in terms of, I guess, A Way Out was very kind of slow and methodic in their movement and its actual gameplay style.
And you got split up more. Like there was a lot more of you're over in one side of the prison, I'm doing something completely different. Whereas this one's more you're close by. At most, you're on the side of a bridge or something like that. You know, there's not really a big split.
Even there's like sections I've just played through where it builds up splitting you up, and then it's literally like one room, and then you're back
it's like one
again.
section.
And it was like. And it's like, oh, okay, I was kind of looking forward to playing through different sections and whatever. Yeah. But then for me, it was just like how kind of freely movable the camera angle is and everything for the character in the platformer when you only have the screen kind of split in half for you in that style that they do, that Hazelight does its games. It took me a little bit just to get used to it and kind of get behind it. Also, I'd like to call them out right now. For somebody who's Platinum Celeste, like, I out-platformed the shit out of Buddy Watson. Like,
this is you sure you want to say, like, we're recording a podcast right now. I don't know if you're...
I'm saying it right now. I was saying this to his face.
Okay.
Because he started the brag. He started the brag of, like, does this guy not know that I Platinum Celeste?
That sounds like something he would say, yes.
And then he started, like, falling off fucking platforms. And I'm like... The fuck?
You can't handle that third dimension. It's a real trouble.
I'm just, it's like, what the fuck? Like, there was boss fights I carried. I was like,
that extra layer of depth is, like, very difficult to adjust to.
I will say, for kind of, as we said earlier with the adult themes, or of being adult Pixar, this, like, game has, like, hella dark moments. Like, and you two have suggested before the recording that it gets darker than what I've seen already. But there's stuff that both Buddy and me, while playing, have been like, holy fuck, what is going on?
There was, so at one stage, when we were streaming, I think you can watch the part where there's just like something happening, and Ash will know what I'm talking about when we got to the, like, I think the weirdest, most out there, darkest scene in the game. And I was just like, I was looking at my face because I'm just watching these cutscenes, and I think I'm just like mouth, jaw, just like what the fuck are we doing right now? Like, this is
There's honestly some stuff in there that I'm surprised is in video about involving children. It's like
it's quite
wow.
Weird.
And then also the two main characters also set out just to make their daughter cry, and they're like, man, I wonder if we can make her cry. And I was like, are you fucking kidding?
I don't want to spoil it, but like, that's going down that road is exactly what we're talking about.
Like, even just to the point where they've just started talking about that being a plan, I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. Like, how is that a thing?
What was your thoughts, Ash?
Yeah, I think the story is not the most impressive part of this, even though there are moments of this that are like, there's small moments or like craziness that is so enjoyable that obviously all this dark stuff we're talking about, it's still like super funny and amusing to watch and experience, I think, to a certain degree. And there's like obviously different sections, like there's obviously squirrels and, you know, vacuums and all kinds of crazy stuff that's in the thing. But the overall story of the game, I don't think it comes together quite very well at all. You know, I didn't get it. It wasn't satisfying, I feel like, at the very end. Like, sure, we beat all the levels, we beat all these bosses and stuff, but the ending wasn't satisfying, but the experience, like, this is definitely one of those games is the journey's better, more important than the destination and that kind of stuff. So I had a really good time. You know, there's so many wacky, crazy stuff in there, on top of all the different little mini games that I got schooled in. You know, just a really good experience. I think, like, obviously the co-op tech worked perfectly, you know, and that kind of stuff. So yeah. I had a really great time, but yeah.
And I was going to clarify, like, for people who've played A Way Out, and it's a thing of, like, obviously that game's ending, if you've played it, is like, it's very, very memorable. And I'm not spoiling it, because if you haven't played it and you play It Takes Two and you really enjoy it, you should go play A Way Out. It's very different, but the ending of that game's just something you and your friend will kind of never forget. Like, I'm sure me and Ciaran will never forget.
Yeah, no, I don't forget that.
So it's
never forget, never forgive.
Yes, it's not a thing of me being like, this game doesn't have that sort of ending, because I never expected it to have that sort of ending. However, I just don't think, like, it's just not a very eventful ending. And like, even if this was a single player game, like, that's the thing about this game. If this game was single player, and like, obviously a lot of it was tweaked, but if this was a single player game, this would just be straight up a very good, fun platformer. Like if it was one of the characters and tweaked and all the puzzles and mechanics were brought into a single player game, this game would be straight up a great platformer, but I'd still be saying the exact same thing, which is I didn't like the characters. I didn't particularly gravitate towards the story. The ending was just sort of like whatever. I felt nothing. I felt like the ending was trying to make me cry, but I'm just like, I give zero fucks. So, you know.
It was like first draft Pixar ending, I feel like.
Yeah.
You know? Like, here's the basic idea we're going for. They haven't quite nailed down the small details that would have made it more impactful. I think it isn't helped that I didn't really like the kids' voice acting. I think everybody else fits their role perfectly, but yeah, the kid just was kind of monotone and, you know, not very endearing.
No, I think not a lovable child. That
not like the kids in Despicable Me or something.
Yeah, we are like these are fun kids. It was just I don't know, the child's really like parents. You think the parents are, you know, she's like, oh, my parents are like taken over by demons, and the reason she doesn't care is because she's just taken over by a fucking demon the entire game anyway. That's the big spoiler, you know. Like that's why she had she had no soul the entire time. That was the.
That's not a spoiler at all. That didn't happen.
Okay. Yeah, I presume people would have thought that.
Which I guess isn't. I guess it is in of itself a spoiler.
It's now a spoiler because you've said that, so that's fine. Yeah. Any final thoughts? You're looking forward to finishing it up, I presume, Ciaran?
Yeah, I'm still looking forward to jumping back into it and continuing to school Buddy on the games. I think the only games he's destroyed, like the only mini games he destroys me is anything involving button mashing, because I think like.
Oh, by the way, who's playing as what? Like I forgot to ask.
So I'm Cody and he is May.
Okay, so yeah, I was May and Ash was Cody. So
I think Cody, like stuff Cody's done at the moment, I think is way cooler than what May.
I mean, they're very different. Like I could very much, you know. This game would be cool to replay, not straight away, but you could definitely replay it. And even though you know what levels are coming up and stuff, the fact that
it would feel different.
It would feel very different, I think, because you get completely different character mechanics, weapons, abilities.
Or even just stuff like it just seems like Cody does all the driving. If there's a driving or vehicle, it's kind of like Cody
he does.
Generally is in charge of that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm cool with that. Like, there's been some really the one moment we've just went through with a vehicle was very fun. Like, was quite enjoyable actually. So, it'll be. I'm looking forward to continuing to deep dive with it, and just I told Buddy today. I said, hey mate, look, I've learned from this session. I refuse to play Celeste and Platinum Celeste for you because that's his identity. And I don't want to take that away from him, you know. I've clearly betted him already. I'm going to try and finish this game over the Easter weekend before this episode of Arcade Couch goes out. Because I feel like as soon as this episode goes out, he won't want to play with me.
It's possible.
No, I think you should definitely play the whole entire game. I mean, it is one of the most creative experiences I've had in a while. So, and the gameplay overall is like a lot of fun.
Yes.
All the puzzles and the platforming and everything, yeah.
Yes.
Set that fucking tower, am I right?
Well, I mean, you don't have to do that, but I guarantee when they get to that, Buddy will want to do that. So,
yeah.
Because A, it's a trophy, and B, it's a platforming puzzle, so...
Well, if Ciaran's schooling him with the platforming section,
maybe Ciaran will have to get it done. To do it. I don't know.
But like, he wants the trophy.
Here's my question: Did you both buy the game? Are you both getting trophies, or what's the?
No, only Buddy's in trophies.
So what we're saying is that if Ciaran's the one winning at platforming in this game, that ain't gonna work because I highly doubt that trophy will pop if Ciaran climbs that tower and Buddy doesn't.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying. There you go. All right, moving on. It Takes Two. Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Find out my full review if it's an 8 or an 8.5.
So fuck that book, am I right?
Yeah, fuck that book. The book's fucking shit.
Fucking
literally every time he showed up, me and Ash were just like, fuck this. It's just like I got so sick of him.
Massive douchebag.
Oh, I hate him.
Look, it's like he can't ruin mariachi music though for me. Like the guitar.
Well, I think you'll come back around. It'll be okay.
No.
Another review I had up last week was the review for the Xbox wireless headset. That's the official name. It's not a very eventful name because it's their first official proper Xbox headset for their consoles going forward. So it's a really good headset. I gave it 8.5 my review. You can find the full review, of course, explosionover.com. But this is now my go-to Xbox and PC gaming headset. I didn't have a wireless headset for my PC. I had whatever ones. But they're really fucking good. They're 150 Australian dollars. And by the way, I paid for these. I didn't get sent these, so you know, I'm not sucking ass here. $150. They're really, really good. The sound quality is top notch. They hook up through the Xbox. I can't remember what it's called.
Is it Dolby Atmos?
They got Dolby Atmos. They give you a free trial of Atmos up until September, after which you have to pay for it. I think it's $15, $20 to buy the license. Like that's just straight up. It's just the full license or whatever that you have to buy. So you get a full free trial. You can try that out. Whatever else you want to do. The microphone's perfectly fine. It's nothing to write home about. It's exactly the microphone you'd expect on a headset that costs $150. But that's fine. The really cool thing about it, or one of the really cool things about it, is that you can hook it up to. So you can be playing a game on your Xbox or your PC. And then you can hook it up to your phone if you want to listen to like music or a podcast at the same time. And then you can use the left ear cup to mix the sound between the two. And it just does it so seamlessly. Like you just hook it up Bluetooth to your PC or Xbox, hook it up Bluetooth to your phone, and you just twist the knob and off you go, mix between stuff like that. I'm like, that's handy.
Super useful one is if your friends are PC gamers or using Discord a lot and you want to be on your Xbox, you can mix your Discord voice.
I think that's why they've done it. And especially when we hear talks about Microsoft buying Discord, the fact that it all sort of starts to make sense because especially let's say you're playing a multi-platform game. Like look for example, what's out this week? Outriders, right? Outriders is out. Let's say you're playing that on Xbox. Let's say you've got a friend playing it on PC. You're playing cross-play together. Let's say you want to be in a Discord chat so you can talk while you're playing the game. You can hop into Discord. The person playing on PC can just do it through PC. You do Discord for your phone. You mix it. It syncs up fucking easy as like it all makes sense when you start thinking about the I mean maybe they didn't think they'd get Discord, but maybe they would have looked into their own sort of way to do that sort of stuff. So
I still think it's technology that is still required in making not required, but it's very handy to have when bringing out a headset nowadays. I think it's one of the things that's missing slightly from the PlayStation 5 headset, even though that headset is kind of made purely with the PlayStation in mind and no other uses really.
Look, this Xbox headset is the type of thing where it's like PlayStation has to step their game up with the next Pulse headset because this thing is cheaper, or I think it's the same price, whatever it is. It's either
same price.
It's the exact same price or slightly cheaper, or one or the other. And it's so much better. So I mean, they kind of.
And even if like somebody you're like, oh, I want an Xbox headset, but at the same time, I could use some new wireless headphones for my phone.
So that was one thing I put in my review that kind of annoys me is that you can't take so people watching video, I'll show you. You can't take the microphone off.
That's lame.
So I think in my opinion, if you could remove this microphone here, you could then I think get away with using these just as headphones on the bus or wherever walking around town or whatever you want to do.
I still think you could.
I think because I don't think this green trim is too like out there. Like this is you know what I mean? Like I don't think it's too flashy to be kind of weird to have in public or whatever. But yeah, you can't take the microphone out.
Like flashy headphones.
I don't know. Like I wouldn't wear some of those Razer headsets in public. You know what I mean? Like that's
no, I wouldn't wear like a Razer or an Astro A50 or something.
Yeah, no, like
public, but it's like Beats are always like bright red and screen.
Yeah, it just depends what works for you. But I think in the scheme of gaming headsets, which are usually rather flashy, I think that one's pretty chill. And the other downfall for it is it doesn't have a 3.5 millimeter jack at all, which is kind of annoying. I think if it did have one, it would have been so much like I think the reason I don't do that is because I don't want people using it on PlayStation because you could if you could just plug it into the DualSense at that point. But the bad thing about no 3.5 means you can't use it with your Switch. And I'm like, that's kind of annoying. Like you guys are playing nice with Nintendo. It would have been really great if this worked on PC, Xbox, Nintendo.
Headphones?
Hey? Well, I mean, someone
why would you care?
Why would you?
I guess it's just.
Why would you use it on the Switch?
It's just why would an access option. It's just having that option there would be nice and would be interesting for me.
For the people that just own Switches and Xboxes.
Is it just USB? You just get an adapter, it's fine.
Is it just USB-C charging?
USB-C charging. It's quick charge and everything. It's fucking 15 hours battery life, which by my estimate turned out to be roughly true because I left it on overnight and then woke up and was like, how long's it been? And then like kept using it in the morning before work and eventually it ran flat and I was like, yeah, that's around 15. Like that was my like rough math estimation on that. But then one thing also, this story real quickly because I haven't said it on the podcast, but this is my second headset because the first one's actually broke on me the week I got them. And I do note this in a review. I haven't like chucked us because I still gave it an 8.5, but The first one broke, and I think it was just so random. Like they literally just stopped working. I still can't see any wide reports of that happening. I still don't know why it happened. I think I just had one of those, like anything that's technology. I
heard it here first. Microsoft quashing the news of faulty headphones.
Well, no. I think I just had one of those random occurrences where it broke. I took it straight back into EB Games. I swapped it over for a new one. I haven't had any problems with this one, and I've been using. As I said, I'm using these as my. Like I was playing Outriders this morning because it started. Like we're recording this on Friday. Outriders obviously launched this morning. I was playing that on PC this morning. I was using the headset for that. Like I just use it as my gaming headset now. Atmos is great. Sound quality is great. Plugs in great. I use it with because it just connects to the Xbox adapter USB thing. And by the way, I did not realize, because I remember when I was like at first, for whatever reason in my mind, I'm like, will this adapter thing allow me to connect my Xbox controller and the headset at the same time? Or is it like it can only connect to one device? It can connect both. So in case anyone like me is confused if the USB dongle can do both, it can do both. It's perfectly fine. And by the way, since I mentioned Outriders, I've played up to roughly where we played in the beta. However, I didn't get to carry over my progress because I did get sent a code from PR. However, I got sent PC code, so I had to restart my
that's kind of lame.
So
that's lame that there's no cross-platform progress.
There's cross-play but no progression.
No progression.
Maybe they'll add cross progression one day, and then I can buy if I play enough on PC, I'll be able to buy the Outriders PS5 cheap and get all the trophies pop.
With the code, is it just played through Steam or is it part of the Xbox? Steam. Okay, fair enough. That's why.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, it's on everything. It's Epic, Steam, Game Pass, obviously, Xbox.
Yeah.
PlayStation, everything. So yeah, I don't
know
if much to say on that.
While we're talking about the headset, and you mentioned Dolby Atmos having the license and everything. Do you reckon by September, like, there's a possibility that license gets chucked in as part of Game Pass?
No,
just as like a
because they don't own the license. They'd have to make a deal with Dolby.
They could make a deal.
I don't think Dolby are going to care to make that part of Game Pass. I think the numbers of people who would care for that is
very low. Yeah,
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who like, I don't really care. I can't tell difference. Whatever. I don't know. Anyway, like it is worth it. I've done a free trial previously with headset. I mean, look, long story short is it's not the headset that has the license. Like you can buy that Dolby Atmos license for any headset you currently own, any headphones you currently own. You can listen to Dolby Atmos through whatever headphones you currently listen to this podcast with, if you want to. Obviously the clarity and the quality of the headphones will mean if the Dolby Atmos quality is actually good or not, but you don't need special headphones to use Dolby Atmos, to buy the license and to use that on games or movies through your Xbox or what have you. So yeah. All right. So the other thing I want to talk about is I've been playing a lot of Magic the Gathering Arena because it released on mobile devices earlier this week or late last week. I can't actually remember when it was now, something along those lines. Anyway, I'm going to have a review up by the time this pops as well because I've already drafted one. I think I'm going to give it as well around an 8 to an 8.5. Undecided. So this and It Takes Two is going to get roughly the same score. So obviously MTG Arena came out, I think it was like late 2018, or that was at least when the beta was for PC. So it's been out for some time on PC. I remember playing it for a fair bit when it originally released and trying it out, and I'm enjoying it for what it was. I kind of jumped off because I found it kind of annoying that I'd previously spent a lot of money in Magic the Gathering Online, and I was like kind of annoyed. I was like, damn, I can't just like transfer over shit or whatever, and like all this sort of shit. So anyway, long story short, and I in my review I didn't even bother trying to explain Magic because I'm like, I just want to talk about the game itself and how it plays, because trying to explain Magic is a completely separate topic. But Magic is obviously like the OG, or what
it's a card game.
It's like an OG card. It's the OG card game. It's been around since 92, 93, something like that. I think it's like, it's a long kicking, long running card game, and the fact that it's still around does mean that as far as mechanics of a card game go, it's a very finely oiled machine. Like people enjoy it. It's still around because people enjoy it. Its mechanics, if you like the game, you like the game. Now, the one thing I'll say, if you want to compare this to be like, oh, Dylan, I've played Hearthstone. Like, what's the difference between this game and that game? the number one difference that stands out to me playing it on, especially on mobile, and this is something I point out in my review, be it iPad or be it on my actual phone, because I've played it on both, is that Hearthstone doesn't have blockers, right? Because you just choose what you want to attack. You attack the
Hearthstone is very kind of streamlined for mobile
because it's built. It was built as a digital game, so the mechanics were built for these things in mind. And I think it becomes obvious when Magic: The Gathering is a game in which you will look. Long story short, you play lands, you get mana, you cast creatures, you cast spells, etc., etc., etc. Name of the game is to get your opponent's life from 20 to 0. You can do that with spells, or you can do that with creatures you cast, and you attack your opponent. However, in this game, compared to Hearthstone, when you choose to attack with creatures, your opponent can then choose to block with their creatures. And I've had a couple games now where someone has like fucking 1 billion 1/1 zombie token, 1/1 wolf creatures, or 2/2 zombie tokens, or some shit, and then like you're trying to block 10 creatures with 10 creatures you own, and doing that becomes sort of very cumbersome, and there's no way around it, because like as someone who played a lot of physical Magic for many years of my life, when you, even in real life, when you're playing those moments where someone's like attacking you, they're like, I just attack with everything. And they turn all of their creatures sideways on the table. And then you sit there for like fucking 5 minutes because you're like, okay, I got to figure this shit out. But the thing about doing it in real life means you can stand up, lean across the table, and you kind of begin placing your creatures on top of their cards, going, this block's here, this block's here, this block's here. And that's sort of the way you and your opponent work out what's actually happening. Whereas doing it in this game, all it does is sort of like, you have all these zigzagging lines going across the screen saying this thing's blocking this thing's blocking this thing. And the more creatures you have doing that, it becomes very much like, what the fuck's going on? And as someone who knows how to play the game, I'm like, this is kind of annoying, but I understand what I'm doing. Whereas I do think compared to Hearthstone, this would be like a big red flag for people who maybe are trying this out on mobile now, who are big Hearthstone players and not used to having to block. And they're like, what the fuck? Yes. This is just nonsensical. And that is because the game was designed as a physical card game first, not a digital card game. I think if Magic was designed as a digital card game today, they would be more in line with Hearthstone, because they would skip this because it kind of just stands out as a digital card game thing where you get fucked. Other than that, it's the Magic you know and love, and I think a lot more people will try it out now that's on iPad and iOS, because that is where like Hearthstone's pretty popular on those formats and whatever else. And I've been enjoying playing this most on my iPad, because I would enjoy playing this on my iPad more than my PC, because I think there's just something special about, like, it's the perfect screen size. There's just something more enjoyable about flicking the cards, like rotating the cards in your hand, like having that like tactile element, because it is a card game, more so than like clicking on things with your mouse. Like, it's just not quite, I don't know, there's something more enjoyable about it, just touching the cards.
No, it is. Yeah, it is always on Hearthstone. I've played it both on an iPad and on a mobile phone. And the mobile phone, not only do you have, it's just not nice to use, you often fuck up and click the wrong card and stuff like that, because there's a very small area of space for you to actually press. Yeah.
And I would say, like, I've played a fair bit on mobile. Like, I even did an entire draft in the bath of there, which I tweeted about, I was like, this is the fucking world I'm living in now. Like, I'm having a great time. I did an entire fucking Magic the Gathering draft in a bath. I was in the bath for like 90 minutes. It was great. It was good shit. Also, I'll add on to that is I had one match left in my draft when I got out of the bath, and I booted up the PC version to go, hey, can I just boot up the PC version and just continue what I'm doing? Yes, you can. It's all very interconnected. Whatever you want to do, iPad, PC, mobile, go for gold. Do what you need to do. Playing on mobile, it's nearly as good as iPad, except for the one obvious thing is the screen's not as big. They do a pretty good job where obviously you can click and hold a card, bring up a bigger version to read, and you'll do that probably a lot more than if you was playing on iPad, which I don't think is a proper negative, because like that's not a design fault. That's just you have to deal with it because you're playing it on your phone. But other than that, it's fairly easy to play on both devices. And I mean, with everything that they've added in the game since the last time I played it, like you have a battle pass equivalent, which has like a bunch of free unlocks per season. And basically the seasons are the current card set, like so it's the next 3 months, whatever it is. And then you can buy a premium battle pass. So if you want to do all the dailies to try and level up that, I can see people who maybe play this a lot on PC already being like, well, I can just like get into bed and quickly do some dailies, like try and wipe out some easy dailies, like cast 45 white spells, or you just hop into a bot match with a pure white deck to knock those things out, or stuff like that. I could definitely see people playing it across both formats or whatever else. I'm really, really enjoying it. I definitely can see myself keep playing it on PC because, on my iPad more so than I would have my PC, simply because I just enjoy it. Enjoy playing it a lot more there. I think of a slight negative of having it's hard for me to judge is I still don't think the tutorial is quite there. And again, that's hard to judge as someone who knows how to play the game, but I just thought the tutorial might not be enough for new players. The one annoying thing about knowing how to play the game is that they make you do the tutorial no matter what. I'm like, fuck off. I know how to play Magic. Don't treat me like some goddamn noob over here. But I have been enjoying this. Ciaran, would you I think so.
It's one of those things where digital card games are always really hard to get into. Like, every now and then when I foray back into Hearthstone, but at this point I'm only playing if I ever jump back into Hearthstone, I only ever want to play the auto battler because it's much easier to get back into rather than the actual kind of deck building main kind of game versions of these games. Just because kind of keeping up with cards and keeping up with
the meta
decks can be, and keeping up with meta can be superly hard sometimes. Like, it's just one of those things, and especially when kind of with these games needing for you to buy cards or buy booster packs or kind of get into that, I think it's a lot harder to do. And you either have to be ready to be like really committed into playing it, or kind of, I don't see it as something that could be that casual, if that makes sense.
My one counter to that is all I'm doing is drafting for the most part. And drafting, I would say, is hard to get into because you have to learn. Like, drafting, in case people don't know what drafting is, it's a format in which, so you're on a table of 8 players, including yourself, and everyone opens up a pack. You take one card out from it, and then if you're playing in real life, you pass the pack to your left, and that's what you do until all the cards are out, and then you open a second pack and a third pack and so on and so forth. And by the end of it, you're supposed to you create a deck of a minimum of 40 cards, and that's what you play with for the entirety of the rounds. And learning how to draft and like what makes a good card in limited format like drafting is a skill that you can acquire. I think it just takes like practicing drafting. However, drafting is kind of easier to get into and keep playing the game with because you don't have to get the good cards. Like, being a good drafter simply means learning what makes a good pick in general. You know what I mean? Like, compared to if you want to play standard or like a constructed format where you are coming up against people who have the great decks and you've got to keep up with the meta. Drafting, you keep going around. Now, to draft in the game, you do have to spend some level of real world money. If you're good at the game, you can win drafts and you will win in-game currency that can kind of nearly pay for your next one. But otherwise, of course, you're spending however many dollars. I can't remember. It's like probably like fucking $5 or some shit. I don't know to draft. The thing is, you keep all the cards you draft like you would in the real world. You get prizes per win like you would in the real world. If you're really good at drafting, you pay that however many dollars it is. You keep all your cards, and I think the maximum prize is like somewhere of upwards of 7 packs of boosters to buy. You know, like it's obviously the better you are, the better your prize will be, and the more you can rotate it. Yeah.
But I think that's harder it's harder for a casual person to get into. Like, again. Like, that was the thing where you used to suggest draft to like people who used to like kind of being, when I used to work, like not work, but used to play Magic the Gathering physically. You used to have new people come into draft because it's like, well, draft is the easiest way to get into the game because you get given the cards, but at the same time, you spend the first month of doing it getting your fucking ass handed to you if you have no idea.
You know what the problem was? Everyone at my local store, all the newbies, they would open a pack and it would be a shit mythic and they would take it and then they'd complain why they weren't winning. It's because you got to learn that maybe you don't always take the rare card, you take the good card, the fact. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, there are bot games. You can replay the tutorials as much as you want. I think if you want to learn how to play the game, there's enough bot mechanics to practice on. I think there's a free draft where you don't keep any of the cards, so you can practice that way. So that is handy, of course, like a phantom draft, I think, or something like that it's called. And then if you want to step it up, there's a draft mode where you don't have a timer and you're not playing in real time against other people drafting, and you sort of draft against bots. So that means you can take more time picking your card. And then the premier drafting mode is where you have a minute to take your pick and you're drafting in real time. And that's the one where the more hardcore players go. So I think there's enough options to like for your level of Magic like skills. Yeah. However, I would agree compared to like something like Hearthstone or some of the other digital card games, this one does have a harder barrier of entry, but I don't think that's any different than the real world. Like that's not just a Magic the Gathering arena thing. That's just a general Magic. That's going very back
to not just Magic as a game, and then you also go to big games where honestly, if you look at games like League of Legends or Dota or any of the MOBAs, which equally are just as hard to get into, I think at the same time it's like they're MOBAs. That's just kind of part and parcel.
But honestly, like even those things, like I didn't play League for however long, and then I could jump in today and I could pick up, like I could figure out what's going on pretty quick. Whereas I hadn't played Magic for like a year and a half. I jump into this. I'm like, what are the mechanics in this current set? Sure, like I don't ever read them. I just start drafting, and then I was picking cards and going blah 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 blah. Yeah, that seems good. You know what I mean? Like it's like once you learn how to ride the bike, you never forget. You know what I mean? Like it's once you learn the core mechanics of something like Magic, something like League or Dota, whatever, these more harder games and whatever, you learn the core mechanics, you can come back and pick up what's going on. You're fine. You just jump back on and figure it out. Like there was a mechanic currently where you could cast spells for 2 and then like cast them later. I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, I was like, yeah, sure, seems good. Do this, whatever. My first draft, I won I think I went 4 wins and then lost out. So I was like, 4-3 in total, which isn't anything to cry home about. But I was like, pretty good for my first draft because I haven't played Magic in like nearly 2 years. So take what I can get, kind of thing. Yeah, I'll tell you. I told Ash you should have a go at this to see what he thought, but I take it you didn't get a chance to try it out.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
Are we scaring you off? Or?
Quickly jumped to do it during this podcast, but yeah.
Are we scaring you off or?
Yeah, I just it doesn't fit what I use mobile gaming for. So
as something to do while you're multitasking.
Yeah, some mindless background thing.
No, it's certainly not mindless. Let's get into the news. As I mentioned in the opening show, there's only a couple of stories to run through, so we'll go through them pretty quickly here. 3 stories in total, in fact. So firstly, I brought this up because I know Ciaran's watched the entire thing. So IGN says, Dota 2 Dragon Knight pick rate increased following Netflix show. So I'm going to lead this off to 2 questions. A, explain what the Dota Netflix series is, and then B, who is the Dragon Knight and why was this person so disloved and why are they now being picked so much in Dota after the anime?
Okay. So for anybody who doesn't know or never played a MOBA or never played League, I think it's 116 characters in Dota 2 currently. It might be more. They might have added more than I don't know. But every character in Dota actually has a really fucking deep lore and very intricate lore in how they all kind of coincide and everything. So, it was signed and announced last year or the year before that Valve had signed a deal with Netflix for a number of series based on different characters in the kind of the Dota universe. And the first one was based on the character Dragon Knight. Dragon Knight is a pretty stock standard character in terms of general play. Like he's not anything too wild in his mechanics. He has a basic stun. He shoots fire. He has a passive that makes him very tanky. And his ultimate is he turns into a fucking dragon. It's very
dragon kind of dragon?
Like a Dragon Knight dragon, correct.
It's in the name.
And
so he's orange.
He's a very kind of he's like a middle of the road. Like he's kind of like a jack of all trades, master of none. Like he does a very solid job of what he does, but at the same time, he's not amazing at everything.
Is this a Ciaran of Dota?
Oh, a little bit, very much so, a little bit. Where it's like he's not the flashy player, he's not making massive plays all the time. He just does a really solid job of just kind of existing and just being in fights. So the anime itself, the way I compare this anime,
it's called Dota Dragon's Blood, by the way, for people playing at home.
Dota Dragon's Blood is what the actual series is called. I actually akin it to has a very similar feel to like Avatar: The Last Airbender. In terms of it's more Western than it is kind of your Japanese anime. It is based on the Dragonite himself. And it's pretty much his origin story, how he becomes the Dragonite that you play as in the actual Dota game. It also not only having just one character, it has a number of characters from the Dota universe appear in this, like Terrorblade, Evoker, Mirana plays a big part, and these are all different characters you can play as in Dota 2 currently. As well as it's been now teased that there is like the new characters that are being added into the game upcoming are actually going to be from the series. So there's a number of new characters that were introduced, or characters like Salamene, who's a god that we've known about because there's another couple characters that kind of dedicated or kind of support that god. But now that she's been fleshed out and brought in as a character, people are like, maybe she's going to be the next character in Dota. Like, maybe she's going to be. And it's kind of brought a lot of communication. One of the really fucking smart things that Valve did with the release of this anime was at the exact same day, they've released all of their new tutorial levels and introductionary bots. And everything that new players would use to get into the game were released. I think it was either the same day or the same week that this anime came out.
Just on that quickly, if Dota Dragon's Blood, you could watch it without having played Dota.
You don't need it. You don't need it. You don't need Dota.
It doesn't seem like a very long advert, does it? It's not like, hey, we've made it good enough to get people to play our game.
No. It's an actual story. That's why it's actually like it's a story as like kind of akin to Avatar: Last Airbender. And so this is actually the current section is 8 episodes. It's called Book 1. So there is anticipated for more books to be added to that and more episodes to be added to kind of grow the story. But it's very easy to like. It kind of it doesn't want you to have any prior knowledge. It doesn't need you to have any prior knowledge. It just kind of it builds itself naturally, where it starts off as, okay, here's the main character. He is a dragon hunter. And it kind of builds on those starting blocks and introduces you different characters. It doesn't even, the characters that are actually taken from Dota, it doesn't actually do much all the time to be like, hey, this is a character from the video game. It's just, they're a character in the world. Kind of Invoker is kind of a very kind of lead character in the whole thing and a big character in Dota 2, but he's never really called Invoker and he's always just referred to as the Sage. And it's just, you don't need to have watched Dota, to play Dota or have any understanding of Dota 2 to watch and enjoy this anime. I think it's a fantastic character-based narrative that has some really cool animation, some really interesting fantasy elements that I don't think many people know. And I think it fleshes out, for anybody who's played Dota, it fleshes out a character really well and adds to it. Dota has some of the wackiest side kind of character backgrounds ever. Like there is... my favorite is a character called Timbersaw that is pretty much Batman for trees. Like, he hates trees that much that he created a mechanized suit to kind of take on the forests around him. And that's kind of his backstory. And there's all these wide and wacky characters in this world. And it's really interesting through this anime for like kind of the world building they do in it to kind of start putting the pieces for a grander kind of to expand it and bring other stories into it. I think it's fantastic. It's a really enjoyable 8 episodes. They're only 20 to 30-minute episodes. Like it's a really easy and straightforward watch. It's really self-contained. It doesn't require you to it doesn't take very long to world build or be like, hey, we're going to do a whole bunch of exposition here to explain a bunch of shit you don't know. It doesn't do that. It has a focused story that builds on characters, adds new characters, and really is a great, like, it's just, honestly, it's a good show
I think,
to watch.
like, even though I'm not a Dota fan, I think it's Valve and Riot Games have kind of clicked onto the same thing around the roughly the same time, which was, we have a fuck ton of characters with a lot of really cool backstories. Maybe we should try doing stuff with them other than just making our one MOBA game. Because Valve is obviously trying to do that and build a universe, and Riot's doing that as well, where they're creating all sorts of spin-off games that are upcoming. And I'm hoping for all of Riot's League of Legends spin-off games, it's going to be a thing where it's like, hey, you could play that. I can't remember what the game is now, but it's like the top down, like sort of like Diablo 1 or whatever they've got coming up. It's like someone could play that and just love that for what it is and be like, I'm into the League of Legends universe now and I'm looking forward to like maybe more games, but also MOBAs aren't for me and they don't feel forced to have to play that. But like it would be a good way to get people into these universes, I guess.
It's super insane how deep the lore is on characters from MOBAs, when inside the MOBAs, the lore means fucking nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's like the lore itself does not mean anything. It's just they've got fleshed out and detailed character laws.
It's no different than Magic the Gathering.
Yes, even Magic the Gathering, where it's like, if you don't give a fuck about that stuff, you can just play the MOBA and it's fine. If you give a fuck about that stuff, but you don't want to play the MOBA, stuff like this is going to be fantastic for you. I think this is a great way to introduce more people into the Dota ecosystem or into Riot's League of Legends ecosystem. I think that they're great properties. They're fantastic properties. They've already done lots of the hard work, honestly, by creating the characters and creating their base lore. Like these 8 episodes are fantastic to introduce people to a couple characters from the game, but just have a great and interesting story that is kind of pretty deep. And it's not more. It's once again, it's a show that's crafted first and foremost to be a show and to be an interesting narrative, rather than to be an advert for a game. Which, you know, there has been stuff in the past that have been just adverts for a game. Where this doesn't, like, this is like the Dragonite in this is actually kind of, it's a very distant away from the Dragonite in Dota. Like, I think it's because it's his origin story and there's so much to build on, and it's really interesting to see and to kind of to watch this stuff grow.
All right, I thought this was interesting based on something I talked about a couple weeks ago, but VL Scout writes that Pokemon Go developer Niantic is working on its own headset. Location-based AR developer Niantic, Pokemon Go, Harry Potter Wizards Unite. And by the way, I did talk about it last week because I was like, I don't really have that much to say, but they announced that they're doing a Pikmin, Pikmin Go AR game. Yeah. So add that to they'll be their third one. It's currently in development of its own proprietary headset device, one that promises to leverage the company's rapidly expanding platform. While information is scarce at the moment, Niantic CEO John Hanke offered us our first look at the upcoming hardware via Twitter, revealing some sort of see-through headset compatible, complete with adjustable straps. To the left of the orange Niantic logo, you can also spot what appears to be a speaker or microphone port of some point. As for the exact purpose of this mysterious hardware, your guess is as good as mine. While the team has yet to confirm any form of AR functionality, Hank does state that the company is working on, quote, new kinds of devices that leverage their platform. I have to imagine Niantic's headset will work in tandem with existing titles like Pokemon Go and Harry Potter Wizards Unite, as well as upcoming releases such as previously announced Pikmin AR mobile game. So I was going to say that this kind, I don't know if it's on too on the nose, but, you know, I talked about it a couple weeks ago when Microsoft did that HoloLens presentation, and Niantic teamed up with them to show what Pokemon Go within HoloLens would look like. And I'm not going to say this is the exact same tech, because it's not. It's Niantic is talking about like it's their own device, so it's obviously not HoloLens. But it does make you wonder exactly what it would be. And I was trying to think like what's the best like actual cool application, because the thing is, like, if they're making a proprietary headset device of some sort, they better have like tested a bunch of ideas and gone like, this is the thing. Whatever they're making, it has to be something that when they announce it, Pokemon Go players, because that's the biggest of their games, obviously, you have to imagine they've made something where they think they can announce it, and a high percentage of Pokemon Go players will go, yes, I fucking need that. Because if that's not the, like, if you don't think you're going to sell it that easily, I don't understand why they would be making it to be, you know, like, or why the point of it would be. It's a bit different when I'm talking about Microsoft HoloLens, like, teaming up with Niantic, because I'm like, Microsoft is making HoloLens no matter what. That was just a cool sort of tech thing, but Niantic making their own headset, I'm like, well, whatever the actual point of this, it better be something that Pokemon Go players like, yeah, I fucking need that shit. I would, if I was to take a guess, I'd presume it would be something just built around simple AR mechanics where they're like, look, for all you hardcore Pokemon Go photographers out there that love, you know, doing cool AR shit with your Pokemon and AR mode and shit like that, this is something you can use to take like hardcore AR things, or you can put on and have your friends walk around with Pokemon. You know, like, I feel like that's maybe what it is. Maybe it's a small headset that you can carry around, because obviously, again, it's like these games where you're walking around, you need it to be something that you could slip into your back pocket or your backpack. You know, it can't be a big chunky headset. It has to be something slim and easy to take around and portable, and it has a decent battery life.
It's already been invented. Just steal the fucking Scouter from Dragon Ball Z. That's all you have to do.
It might be that, to be honest.
just make the Scouter from Dragon Ball Z.
Imagine if it is just like a one a one lens thing. It's not
one eye.
Yeah, one eye lens thing. It's over 9,000. Yeah, no. So I'm keen to see what this is. I don't know. Like, does anyone have any? Ash, do you have any? Like, give me a proper answer. Not a joke. I want a proper answer.
Not a joke. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's probably just some weird HoloLens thing that we won't pan out. Probably.
Look, it's going to be as big as hit as Mario Kart Live.
I don't know, because remember,
I think that sold very well. I think
it did sell very well. But also, if you're gonna make that remark, when Pokemon Go came out, everyone said this game will be dead in 6 months.
No. All I'm saying is that
I'm not even joking. That's what everyone at the time was saying.
It's going to be really cool,
but that didn't have a barrier to entry.
It's going to be really cool in theory, but I think it's either going to like come out and people are going to be like, oh, we don't like the devs are just going to understand there's not enough of a player base continue making content for it, and it's just going to peter out. PlayStation VR, or it's just going to it's just I don't see these kind of peripherals ever working out in the current kind of situation unless they have a really solid plan on how to build on it and make it be almost vital to play without making it vital to play.
I don't know. They also announced, by the way, Niantic announced a team up with, I can't remember the company's name here, but it's like a new technology to build upon AR, the AR technology as well. And they put out a big trailer the other day. I was trying to find it here, but they put out a trailer because that's the thing they keep building on. It's less like what you're actually doing in the game these days. They just always keep trying to work on the actual AR technology to make it, which is funny because a lot of people obviously just don't use it, but they want it to be something that people use more, like the actual AR. Like no one, like the whole time I've played the game, I'm never like, yeah, better have AR on to catch Pokemon. It's like, no, you turn that off because then you can just catch them while you're taking a shit if you want. You know, like you don't want to have to fucking actually pull your phone out, like have to hold it up around.
They could go, like the interesting route would be to go like full Google with it, with how Google does with their Google Homes currently, and just start giving them out for free. Fuck it, just start sending them everywhere and doing promotions. Well,
I guarantee if this headset came out this year, whatever it is, I would guarantee that the majority of the big Pokemon Go YouTubers, content creators, would get sent them for free, and that would be their easy marketing tool for that. So, by the way, a quick random story, just because this whole like Pokemon Go, you can do like raiding from home now. I didn't even realize that people are doing this. Like I jumped into I told Ash the story, but I jumped into a Twitch stream with Holly, who like big Pokemon Go YouTuber. I was like watching a stream in the background while I was editing Arcade Couch last week, and I didn't realize like I was like, oh yeah, I could just. She had a whole thing where it's like redeem channel points to try and raid with her or whatever. So I like did that, and I'm like, this is like it's so funny that they spent so long like making sure you couldn't raid. Like people were cheating.
Crazy that for so long they wanted you to walk around outside.
Yeah, and I know obviously.
And then all of a sudden, like a global pandemic happened, and it was like, guys, we can't make people walk outside anymore. It's a danger to public health and safety.
And that's like, and that's led to a lot of the big Pokemon Go YouTubers.
Let's just make it a normal video game.
Yeah, but it means that people like are now just streaming at home doing their raids from their house, where they can do these things. Where it's like, hey, you live in fucking Tasmania, across the other side of the world. And I like joined, and I did a raid. As soon as I caught a Pokemon in fucking California Beach or wherever the fuck it is now, I'm like, anyway. So that was a whole interesting thing. Last news story: Disco Elysium is basically banned in Australia, but Steam is like, fuck it, we'll keep selling it anyway. Writes Alex Walker over at Kotaku. So yeah, PSA update on this story, which will lead into Ciaran talking about because he started playing it after we talked about it the other week. He writes, even though it's officially refused classification in Australia, it doesn't look like Steam has paid much attention to Disco Elysium Final Cut's ban because Aussies can still buy it as of this morning, and as of recording, it's still a thing. The RPG, which has gotten a huge update this morning with new content, voiceovers, controller support, new political vision quests, and hardcore mode, is still being sold through Steam to Australians. The game is officially supposed to be unavailable, with the classification board finding that a game that lets you split bags of coke with underage kids and specifically offer achievements and quests for doing speed was absolutely not going to fly under Australian guidelines. Still, that hasn't stopped Steam from selling Disco Elysium to Australians as of this morning. What's interesting is that the Final Cut is now the only version of Disco Elysium listed on Steam rather than a second app, as some other games have done, including the Divinity Original Sin. So I haven't restarted it restarted it, but the morning that the Final Cut started up, I was like, I wonder if my version will just update or whatever I need to do. And I went into, because I had it through GOG, I didn't have it through Steam, so I clicked on it and it hadn't updated at first, so I didn't think it had because it still said normal version. I was like, interesting. Maybe I'll start downloading it and maybe it'll force a patch. I start downloading it, didn't force a patch. I was like, what's going on here? But then I realized through GOG, for whatever reason, I had to click like into a different option where it says extras, and then I had to download. I was like, I found it.
Because it was like a because I was the morning it happened, I loaded up Steam and it was like a 15 gig update for the game.
Yeah, so it was like 14 gig on GOG. So I guess it's like
which was fairly substantial.
Well, it's because it's all fucking voice lines. It's like fucking 12 gigabytes of voice lines.
Yep. It's interesting. Look, considering Steam has like fucking fought with Australian consumer law multiple times now, Steam just gives no fucks.
I mean, it's going to get pulled eventually. Like at some stage, someone from the like when people come off Easter break, someone's going to go, "What the fuck?" and ring up Gabe Newell and go,
"Some little fucking snitch is going to snitch on Steam, and
everybody's going to stay nice and quiet."
Yeah, we'll see.
Fuck off! No, there's always a snitch.
So that's interesting. We'll keep tracking that story. Well, let's transition straight into Ciaran, you've been playing Disco Elysium, the Final Cut. Tell us how's that going for you? One of Nick's favorite games of all time.
I'm you know what? I wish somebody had spoken about this game sooner within the Explosion Network.
Why did nobody speak up?
Why did nobody fucking explain this game more to me? I am 16 hours in.
You nearly finished then. I think it's like 20 to 30, depending on how much you. Oh, this one might be longer though. It's got that.
Probably longer, but also at the same time, there's a lot of stuff. Like I started this before it was the Final Cut because I wanted to experience the game a little bit beforehand and understand the differences. Really interesting that it just started like kind of when I loaded it up the morning of the Final Cut version coming out. It just went into it as normal and just had the voice lines and everything added into it. This game's fantastic. Like this game is it's got, for anybody who's ever kind of heard me talk about D&D or heard me talk about kind of those kinds of games in general, my favorite part of D&D isn't the combat, it's the social encounters.
No, it's the dice rolls, which this game has plenty of.
This game has plenty of dice rolls, but then at the top of that, it is social encounters and those kind of things. There is very minimal to no form of combat in this game.
Well, that's what I was trying to explain either on the show last week or after we stopped recording. I can't remember what it was. Where he was like, "Is there combat?"
No, because I did not. Because I was
yes.
like, "Is there combat in this game?" And you're like, "Kind of." And I'm like, "Is there any battle music starts and then there's a strategy to move around?" And then you're like, "No." And I'm like, "Oh, this is okay. Definitely okay." I downloaded it and I'm in love with this game. I love the writing. I love the deeper topics of conversation. It encourages you to ask the weird and wacky questions in the game. It takes you to some very weird and wonderful locations and very weird and wonderful kind of parts for your character to talk about.
It's a funny game.
The whole subplot for your character having amnesia leads to some really fucking interesting kind of character revelations and moments throughout the game. I'm absolutely loving it. I can't wait to play this a second time already. I'm already this way through and there's so much stuff where I've either fucked up or closed that part off or not done that correctly. That I'm really excited to kind of play more of and explore more of and kind of find out more about as we go forward with this game because it's written fucking fantastically and all of the characters are interesting to get into. There is this is honestly the closest thing I felt to a great LucasArts old school point and click game in a very long time without the random fucking item combinations to solve puzzles. It is it's absolutely fantastic and I'm happy to see more people join over to it. I saw some naughty boys on Twitter switch their PlayStations over to the American store to grab Disco Elysium from the American store on their PlayStations. But I think more people, if you need to get your hands on this game, do it. I think it's fantastic.
Fuck the ACCC or whatever.
Just don't give right? Don't give Kerno any speed. Little twerp doesn't deserve any.
Yeah. It's I've re-downloaded it because I was purposely putting off starting it because I was waiting for the Final Cut version after they announced it. So and I was going to rebuy it on PlayStation, but I don't know.
Especially with, I think the biggest thing is all the voice lines, and it's not even voice lines.
That was like one. So when I talked about it, I looked at my save file. I played it for 6 hours. I think is what it said, right? So I put a decent chunk of time into it, but my thing was I kept talking about it, or at least the one time I talked about it.
5 hours of that was reading.
Well, yeah, I kind of just got sick of reading. Like, I was playing it late at night, and I was finding that all the text, even though I was enjoying the story, I was enjoying the characters, I was enjoying the gameplay, I'd get home from work, and I'd try and play it, and I'd just be making myself tired, because I'm, like, reading all the fucking text. So I'm like, as soon as they announce the final cut, and they're, like, voice acting, I'm like, that's what I want.
There is, like, there's been multiple times where I've stopped playing because my brain hasn't been either awake enough or in the right mindset to play it, because characters start getting into deep conversations about communism and different social aspects.
That's why Nick loves it.
And my brain is just like, I can't handle this right now. I'm not in the mindset to process all of this, and I just mentally skip shit. But I guess there's so many. I think the major thing it adds in recognition is because your character has so many of these kind of, I guess you call them personality traits that trigger off different sections of writing throughout conversations. They're all voice acted now.
It's the same voice actor doing like 20 different voices.
Yes,
it's ridiculous.
It's really good. It's really, really good. Like I'm absolutely loving Disco Elysium. I think it's fantastic. I think it's there's a very good reason why. Maybe Nick spoke about it a couple times when it initially came out on podcasts or on the internet or some shit.
If he had showed up on Arcade Couch to talk about it, then I'm sure we would have all played it.
We would have.
I mean, we've
fucking bought it. There.
I played it. You played it. We didn't finish it, but
yeah. You guys. Yeah.
I mean, the reason I brought it was because of Nick. Like this, because he kept yapping on about it. I brought it because of him. And then it won, it won all the game award or the big awards.
Yeah, it won like the most.
Yeah, it won like the Indie Award, Writing Award, all that stuff. Went on to win a bunch of awards other places, all that sort of shit. And watching it win all those awards, I was like, yeah, Nick was right this entire time. And I was like, I look forward to hopefully getting back to
it. Yep. But no, people should definitely, if you get the chance to pick it up, buy it on Steam while it's available. Because I think it's only like $40 or something.
Yeah, it's 20% off.
It's well worth
it at the moment, first week or whatever.
It is currently $45.56 Australian,
which seems more than what I pay
if you were to buy it on a platform.
Yeah,
on your PC.
Do you remember how much you paid? Because I swear I only paid like $30 for it, or like roughly around 30.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
I paid $45, and that was before the final cut was released.
I know. Can you look up purchase history on Steam?
I don't know. Can you look it up on GOG?
You might have bought it through a sale or some shit, though. Like, it might have been fucking, like one of the Christmas or winter sales or whatever. Or maybe, did you guys buy it all around the Video Games Awards?
No, I brought it pretty much after Nick started yapping on about it. So that was like early days, I guess. But I definitely don't remember paying that much. Maybe it went up in price. I don't know. Who fucking knows at this stage?
It's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
All right, so the last thing I just want to talk about quickly and do like a little PSA once again. So I started playing this on Twitch, so make sure you follow our Twitch, twitch.tv/Explosion Network. That's where I'll be playing for the rest of it since I started it there. But I finally started playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I obviously played Rise of the Tomb Raider last year on Twitch as well, and I enjoyed that. And now I've had a little bit of a break, so now I'm coming back to finish off the trilogy. So far, a couple hours in, I'm enjoying it. I'm going to say straight away, I give zero fucks about the story so far, the least in this one out of all three. And I think that...
I remember reading the synopsis for this story and being like, what the fuck is going on with this series?
I think it's because obviously... So this is like slight spoilers for this Tomb Raider trilogy, but so this one... I think it's called Trinity. Yeah, that's it. So this one is focused on Trinity as the main bad guys in this game. And although they were the bad guys in the last one, they were still like rather like mysteriously like in the background somewhat. Like they weren't straight up like we're chasing Trinity. Whereas this game is straight up Lara's just trying to chase down Trinity and like stop them and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I don't care about them like at all. If you've watched the Tomb Raider movie, the one that came out a couple of years ago with Alicia Vikander, they hint about Trinity in that as well several times. And like, I'm sure if they do a sequel, they'll come back to Trinity. And I hope they make them more interesting in the movie than they do in these games. Cause I don't care. I think I've met the main bad guy and I'm like, I don't care for you. You seem kind of boring or whatever. So Mike, the thing I'm enjoying most about the game, I guess, is Lara is back and forth with her friend whose name I forget, like, at the moment. That's some fun stuff. But otherwise, I couldn't care less about the story.
It's funny that it's become more of a... It's almost become more and more buddy cop-ish with him being kind of featured more and more as the 3 games have kind of gone forward.
Yeah, well, he only had a bit.
It's almost...
Yeah, and then in the second one, he was only in it for like the start, and then he disappeared for the rest, I think.
Yes. But it's very interesting for that. Do you think it's taken a bit of inspiration from Uncharted, where that game always has a companion?
To a degree. So I know I'm the one that does the PlayStation podcast here, but I know everyone likes to chuck out this Tomb Raider trilogy versus Uncharted and which ones are better and stuff. But I'll be honest, unless things take a big sharp turn upwards in the story content here, like I just don't care about the story in this as much as I do in the Uncharted games to a degree.
No, that's the thing where kind of, the history lesson in it is Uncharted came and stole Tomb Raider's lunch.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of took its seat at the table, and Tomb Raider's always been on the back foot ever since that happened. I think that this Tomb Raider trilogy was always doomed to kind of not be great ever. Even kind of The Omen, when it was Rise of the Tomb Raider, was released on the same day as Fallout 4, and it just kind of wallowed and squalor because everybody
and exclusive to Xbox.
Yeah, and it was timed exclusive for Xbox as well at the same time.
Yeah, so that didn't really help.
Could I say I had the weirdest, most vivid moment when I jumped into stream with you, where it was like a section I had played through for my dad.
The part with
the
bridge where I was like, I couldn't figure out what
and it
to
was
do.
like the only bit that I had seen of that game, and I just vividly remembered the answer to the puzzle. Yeah. And I was like, "What the fuck? This is weird."
Things stick with you, I guess. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously the gameplay is the thing I'm enjoying, and that's why I'll keep playing it. And to a degree, that's kind of how I felt about Rise as well. I enjoyed Rise. Rise's story was okay. Rise had some really cool set pieces, especially towards the end of that game. I don't want to spoil it, but you end up it takes like a lot more of a fantastical direction than you may have presumed, given the way it starts out and everything. And there's some really cool, fantastic set piece moments towards the end of that game. So I'm interested to see where this one goes and if there's some other cool set piece moments in it so far. We'll see. I'm planning on finishing it. I'm not going to jump off. So yeah, follow the switches.
You got to add it to your crappy.
So I then started that this year because I didn't know if I'd have time because there's more games coming out this year. So I've finished one game off my pile of shame and I didn't write an article for it. So I don't think that's happening. What was the first one I did? I can't remember now. What the first?
I can't remember. Did you add it to your crappy?
No, because I didn't.
Pile of shame.
No, because I didn't do it for this year. I didn't. But I did finish one game this year that wasn't that would have been for that, but I didn't write an article for it. So. Missed out. I'm trying to remember what it was now, but I can't even fucking remember. I'm sure I would have talked about it on here.
I actually had Michael ask me today. I actually did not reply to this, so I'm sorry, Michael. But about when I'm doing streams and stuff, I'm like, I don't know, when something I care about, maybe I'll stream Mass Effect or something. I don't know. Streaming's
I've got my thing at the moment where I'm kind of locked in for that one stream, and because I've been doing at least one a week for the last couple of months, I've kind of just got that now, and I feel perfectly okay about it. It was that it's just like getting into that habit of one a stream and not trying to feel too stressed about what I'm playing or what we're doing.
Yeah, I think it's just the point where we're kind of in a I think once games start actually coming out again, even though stuff is coming out, it's still not kind of stuff I want to play yet. I don't think anything that I really want to play comes out until May.
See, I just use it for shit like this. I want to play Shadow Tomb Raider. It's on my pile of shame. That's a stream. That's my one stream for the week. Done. Probably playing Apex for an hour after I'm done with it. That's the. Did you actually? We'll say Apex was the only kind of April Fool's thing I really saw from games, and I laughed at it because it was they did it. They did the similar shit last year, and it was pretty funny actually. So. By the way, if we're going to talk about April Fools, I know there was a lot, but actually my personal shout-out favorite was Remedy Games released a trailer for Control coming to PS1. It had full PS1 graphics and everything like that. I was like, that's pretty good. I enjoy stuff like that when it's not really a gotcha. It's more just of a fun little thing. It's always every year Overwatch adds googly eyes to every character in the game. Yeah, that's fun. For over the weekend. And even giant spectral dragons that fly through the skies at Ultimate have googly eyes. It's pretty great. It's pretty fun. Yeah. All right. That'll do it for this week's episode of Arcade Couch. Let us know any comments, questions, or concerns you have about anything from this week's episode by either tweeting at us or joining our Discord. You can find those by heading to explosionhour.com/Twitter for our Twitters, and you can join our Discord by heading to explosionhour.com/Discord. Discord. If you liked this episode and thought it was worth at least $1, you can head on over to our Ko-fi page and support us, explosionnetwork.com/support, and buy us a coffee for as little as $1. Until next week, we will see you same time, same couch. Bye. Hey, don't forget you can subscribe to the show wherever you're currently listening, and you can drop a review if you can. Find more great shows like this and more content over at explosionnetwork.com, and please consider supporting us for as little as $1 over on our Ko-fi page by heading to explosionnetwork.com/support. Thanks for listening.